Welcome back to Daily 575 Part 2, where we are admiring Strelok's mech. His mech. I do my best. Game 1, I think, was pretty straightforward. And what I want to do is I want to look at something wild and crazy. What happens if the opening is way different? We saw light pressure with a Reaper in game number 1. Followed by light pressure with Marine Mine to sort of contain the Protoss. And this game from Strelok is very, very aggressive. I'm actually just going to go to the Strelok cam and do one of these. Alright, so Strelok, I'll say right off the bat, is going to go for hyper-fast factory with Hellion harassment. And there's many simple questions. How does he stay alive if the Protoss player rushes for a Zealot or sends his Stalkers out very early? And I will show you in this game and the next game. Now watch this. Look at this. Going for Refinery first. Ooh, Refinery first. Followed by a Barracks on 13. Hidden. Right away, I would say, ooh, you're going to have a little bit of an issue dealing with a fast Zealot, because that fast Zealot should hit the front of your base by around 410 to 415. And then that Stalker should be getting to your base by 5 at the latest. But watch this. Watch. King Strelok. So far so good. We're fine. I won't explain what the harassment is yet, and I'd rather just note all this awesomeness. So there's no probe coming in, so he just cancels the Marine and goes straight for a reactor. As things move along, throws down himself an SCV, and look at this. Instantly goes for the next supply depot. If you look at the supply count, Strelok is at 18 of 27. He does not need any additional supply depots right now. However, he has no units, and he'd like to get those Hellions up as fast as possible. So he just walls in to deal with the Zealot. And if a Stalker comes to attack, the earliest a Stalker can pop out is 4:05, and then it takes about 50 seconds to get here. So it should arrive here by around 5 minutes, and we'll have Hellions up by then already. Isn't this a clever defense against the Zealots? And you might say, well, isn't it just equally clever to get a unit? Well, no, it isn't equally clever, because in this circumstance, Strelok has gotten the fastest possible pair of Hellions up. As fast as humanly possible, he's gotten those bad boys up. So, should a Zealot arrive right around now, they'll work away, there'll be a little bit of repairing, and then these Hellions will pop out and deal all the hurt damage doing. Now, another very reasonable question is, well, what about if my opponent is going for some sort of Oracle, some proxy Oracle? Won't we outright die? First of all, this SCV Scout is just checking for proxy, and there could very well be a proxy here, but again, based upon timing, about the earliest a proxy Oracle can arrive in our base is 6:15. So gets a starport whenever he can afford it. And now we're actually starting to see some of the cleverness of why the scout timing is so delayed. Yeah, sure, checking for Oracle. But soon enough, this SCV will be able to find that Panda Tank, indeed, yes, is going for an early expand, and there is no proxy Oracle to worry about. And the last bit to note, what if a Zealot and Stalker appears up here? Or more simply, what if a Stalker and a Mothership Core appears up here? Easy. We lower the depot and just counterattack with all our Hellions, knowing that there's nothing here to defend. And we follow up with Widow Mines right out of this factory. We'll actually see exactly that happen in the next game. So only now does Strelok actually need to build this depot. So at this point in time, excellent. Look at this timing. Oh my god, what glorious timing. From a basic angle, the SCV that built these 3 depots, when it finished the 3rd one, it just went out to scout. So that's just the scout timing. But look at how it's actually aligning. Right now, if I saw no expansion, I'd be like, oh shit, this guy's probably or very well could be going air. And my starport would be finishing up right then, and I'd be able to build a Viking that takes 42 seconds. It would finish just before 6:15. So I could actually have defense for that Oracle. But because at 5:30 exactly I got here and I saw there is a Nexus, Straylock now can just build a medivac. He doesn't need that Viking up any longer. Isn't that cool? Build the damn medivac, you jerk. Actually, I think he might just expand first. Which is also fine. No, he does build the medivac first. Yeah, look at this. This is a pretty high percentage play anyways. 4 Hellions coming this quickly. I mean, for comparison, I mean, Panda Tank has 2 Stalkers and that's it. And a Mothership Core. I mean, this is a really high percentage play. And this has no tight ramp at the front. So here goes down 1 Expo in production, just continuing with this Widow Mine thing. Widow Mine also take quite a while to build, 40 seconds, so you can stockpile up a lot of resources. Now, I'm going to say you don't have to do this. You totally do not have to hide this expansion here. I honestly am of the opinion that this 3rd command center actually is probably going to be better if it's here with the intention of floating here. I think there's no additional money that you'll really get by hiding it. You're still completely safe. But you can kind of see, oh wait, opening that applies pressure keeps Protoss defensive. 3 command centers with 3 factories and an armory. Everything ends with an Ori sort of noise, except for command center. So I figured it, you know, seemed a little lonely. Command center. Command center. More mans coming on up, and a medevac drop at the backside. Now, with this aggressive opening, there's one of 2 possibilities. Either he gets an early robo facility and then does not have enough units, or he has enough units but not an early robo facility. That's an either or at 7 minutes. He can't have it all. And again, we'll see the exact that exact situation come up in the next game. So we see this sort of setup. Yeah, and there's the burrow. And there's the observer getting set up right now. And as that drop happens, cool, just swinging in the front. This is obviously going amazingly well for Straylock. This is an opening that's much, much more aggressive than the last one. And yet we still see, oh look, there's a 2nd factory being added on. In fact, because Day 9 never lies, and it never has lied. Look, there's 2 factories actually going down. He's getting those 3 factories up. Here's an orbital command. He's getting a bunker up. I actually even think he needs to have the Marines up at this point, but that's fine. Continued annoying little bit of harassment. Gonna bring more mines up all in there.
Upgrade complete.
Gets himself his tech lab and reactor add-ons to these 2. There's the tech lab. The armory, shunk, goes down to be able to produce hellbats. Continued harassment being really, really strong here. Endy gets out with everything. Again, it's a hidden expansion I don't really care for. It doesn't matter. It's whatever. But cool. Armory almost done. And soon enough, Straylock will be at this exact phase of the game again. 3 command centers, 3 factories with 2 reactor, 1 tech lab, and an armory. Gets to delay this gas geyser because this is the only building that's really going to be spending gas. And I suppose this armory when it gets the upgrade. Drops, the harasses. It's going really badly. And there's the Hellbat production getting started. Doink, doink, doink. Great. Great. We're going to start +1 in a moment. So, that game I liked a lot. It shows this really aggressive opening. It shows that there's a potential to win, but most importantly of all, it showed this damn thing. He's still following along with this skeletal structure. So, a completely reasonable question is, what if it doesn't go so well and doesn't win the game immediately? Well, I have another game for you. Let's go on into it. Come on, load. By the way, this is such a badass loading screen. Oh, missed it. My computer's too fast. Too fast. We're literally going to see Straylock do the exact same thing, except this time against NRS Velmu. Finnish Protoss player. Very handsome. Very handsome. Not bling handsome. No one's bling handsome, but bling.
Additional supply.
So we're going to go through the skeleton. We're going to talk about all them timings that feel so good, and we're going to see a couple more en action. And after this game's done, I actually want to do one more rewind to talk about the push timing, but look at it from the Protoss point of view. But yeah, we see gas first. We see a barracks go down, so factory can begin immediately. We see that this Marine begins production just in case a probe shows up, but no probe shows up. Let's get the reactor down. This SCV, after the reactor goes down, builds a supply depot. Continued SCVage, continued muleage, and when this depot goes down, Strelok immediately builds another depot. Even though he doesn't need it for supply, he needs it for defense in case a zealot walks his two-bladed ass up that ramp. So then here's the swap, building 2 Hellions. Now, all the questions that I asked in the last game, we will see exactly what happens in those circumstances. So one of the questions we said last game is, what if our opponent truly does do something really aggressive, like send his first Stalker out, even with a first Mothership Core? I present to you this game. I thought this would be important to you. So right off the bat, Starport, right around the time the 2 Hellions are finishing. Why? Because, geez, we don't even know if he's going for Oracles. He could be. We got to account for that. Sees a Stalker. Uh-oh. Well, this is a little bit dicey. We don't have any of that additional information. These first 2 Hellions moved right on out. But we see there's the Hellion. Mothership Core. Stalker arrives at the front. Now, what did I say had to be true? If he has that sort of stuff at the front, he has absolutely nothing back home. There is no way he can have anything back home if he did that. Joink. So these Hellions literally just drive right by, and then he lifts, and then he has the 2 mines coming up. The Marines, just in case, can get a Viking up now, if he wants to. And he does. Ta-da. 2 reasons we're getting Viking. The clear reason is that there's a flying unit, and we want to be able to shoot it down. The less clear reason is that we haven't yet scouted our opponent. He could still be going for fast Oracle, so we do need this up to be able to stay alive in that circumstance. So now Strelok's moving up. Okay, sees the Nexus. There's this 1 sentry here, and that's it. One of the Stalker is coming back, but not a big deal as far as Strelok is concerned. And there's actually the recall. I thought that was pretty cool by Velmu. I thought that was a really slick answer in that spot. Can maybe kill off a worker, but mostly he'll be able to recall. Now, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of this opening is to keep the Protoss defensive. So I don't care that much for this run-up. I'm not crazy about it. Because I think it's a low percentage play anyways. I don't really think we're going to get anything. And I think far more valuable than the damage these Hellions will do is the potential damage that they'll do. The fact that the Protoss player is going to be like, yeah, I gotta stay at home. Ugh, I can't move out because those Hellions could run by. But Strelok did get this look in here. Sees this Robo Bay.
Ready for dust off.
This expansion only possible because we kept the Protoss defensive, but this 3rd command center likewise could be in the main base. A lot of pressure with this reactor factory. Now either he has observers and a lot of units, or excuse me, either he has observers and not a lot of units, or he has no observers and a lot of units. So if he has observers and not a lot of units, this still has some potential to be quite efficient. But yeah, you see, it's this threat that I like with Hellions. The ability to do this sort of shiz. So I think there actually is an observer, like... Oh gosh, Velmu got disorganized. Oh, the poor thing. So Straylock, I mean, again, is just sort of wrecking face with this, but the game doesn't end in this position. So we still see the same structure played out. Do not, whatever you do replay, do not do that. 3 factories. 1 with Tech Lab, 2 with Reactor. Armory coming up. This play is just to keep Velmu defensive. Doing a good job of it. I mean, most of the probes are sort of being scattered around. There's the 2.5 step to get that 4th factory. Don't want to get that guy too fast because we need to get our extra geysers up to be able to support him. But Straylock's doing a little bit. Again, this isn't that cheesy. This isn't that cheesy because he could just build it in there and it would kind of have a similar effect.
Your forces are under attack.
But the only time that he can really push back on us is when we have siege tanks and hellbats up. That was really cool by Velmu to float it over to be able to kill off the medivac. I like that. So the starport, we talked about this in the game 1 of part 1, where we were saying, well, where does the starport go in the build? It really depends on your opening, but it's not necessary, it's not essential. Can be very assistive. So again, when is the reasonable push time? The reasonable push time will occur at around 6-7 tanks. Around 13 minutes, which incidentally is also when +1 attack wraps up. I would not really want to push out with fewer than 6 tanks. They're just the real damage dealers. These Hellbat drops are not really essential. Straylock didn't really get to pull any of them off against Panda Tank, but one little move like that to get a sense of where the enemy's army positioning is, having one Hellion to be able to lead the fight, find out where everything is great. Now, Velmu did get battered down early on. And actually, I think I can make the point I wanted to make later on right now. If we look at Velmu's tech, he's gone down the Twilight tech. And if he wasn't so battered, maybe this would have been done earlier, and maybe there would have been charge out and some more gateways. But there would not have been Colossus. And likewise in the other game, you know, if Straylock pushes right now, and his opponent went Colossus, he's going to have that and not a lot of Templar or Twilight tech. Because of how he plays out these openings. So that's why this timing works so incredibly nicely. Because there's just guaranteed to be only one tech option or the other. And then the final piece, command center. Pecturi, pecturi. Most important thing, Straylock checks the 3rd base, speeding things up right away. Moves up here, and there will actually be DTs getting warped in here. Oh, nope, getting warped in there. So Straylock begins to try to do his little pushy push. Doing some of this dropping stuff, more of a tactical play. He loses so much. Why do I love this complete pullback? Because he didn't see a 3rd, so he knows that there's actually a lot riding on that counterattack. I don't have much of an opinion about the mines, other than that I like that Straylock is getting them way late in his supply, as opposed to very early in his supply. I think that the Hellbats and the tanks are just so critical to increasing the numbers. I love these Hellbats just like streaming up, because this is such a good way to get the push, to do these big swells forward. And I think you will not be surprised to hear me say Straylock wins this game in about a minute. Because I play Brood War, I'm still scared whenever I see tanks too close to mines. Don't siege up on the mines! Kill him! Just complete and utter domination. Now, what I'm going to show next is a game where things don't go quite so nicely, because one of the key aspects to any build is staying alive. I think that's a fair point to make. By the way, did my sound go out? Everything good? Everything good? I can always tell. My encoder goes like... Alright, cool. You can hear me. You can still hear me. This last game we're going to look at only just for like a minute and a half before we go to break. Schwink. The water in Los Angeles is so good, especially the water from the tap. So this is an example of how fragile the opening can be and how important a lot of timings are hit. Zealots tend to be able to strike as early as 4 minutes, Stalkers at 450, so you want to have some way to see if the Zealot is coming so that you do not get locked out of your bunker production. So what does Straylock do? He opts to do an opening that will apply a light bit of pressure, a Reaper opening. I loves it. Reaper coming up. Command Center coming up. All's well. But what ends up happening? First Zealot moves out. Reaper goes the wrong way. This is why I think that these Reaper openings are so freaking critical, because right now Straylock is not getting any Marines. He's getting the reactor add-on to this barracks. And the Reaper winds up scouting in. Now this is, you can immediately tell that this is a very early Stalker. A Stalker ordinarily will pop out at 415, 405 with a chrono boost, and it's before 405. So this is probably an 11 gate, maybe a 12 gate. But then this happens. There's nothing to allow this bunker to get up. The Reaper shows up, does a little bit of micro, but then the tragedy occurs. All the other King's men show up, and we would have had our Marines out in time. Straylock actually got distracted. I'll actually show that. At 420, this thing finishes. Joink. Oh, he actually didn't. Did he get delayed on the reactor? What was his delay? What's the deal, man? Yeah, I actually think the reactor needs to go down right now, always. See, and then it goes down, and then afterwards the reactor goes down. A little tiny adjustment, but one that could be a complete saving grace, because when this Zealot comes in, suddenly Straylock cannot defend this expansion against this force coming on up. And then it becomes an intense micro battle because there is a bunker not done at 440, which is where it really needs to be done. Straylock does his best. He does his best. But I think it's pretty clear he's dead. He actually had to cancel that. So we can see that there are some issues in the early game, but easily resolved with a couple of small minor adjustments. No reason to get too thrown off. In the last game that we're going to see in Part 3, Straylock just getting blasted early on. Just getting blink stalkers everywhere, getting seemingly thrown off in a violent way. But we'll still see how Straylock, by sticking to the skeletal structure, gets a really clean, easy win. We'll still see how some of the timings work, and most importantly, we will see that this order... Opening pressure, 3 command center, 4th factory with tech lab, 4th base, plus 2 factories. We'll still see that same thing crop up. So let's go to the break. And we'll be back in about 2 minutes.